Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Wizards and Warriors 3, Kuros Visions of Power, brought to us by Acclaim and Rare. The third and final of the trilogy of games on the NES for Wizards and Warriors. This one is a bit different than the predecessors. The game is more of an open world kind of experience as you explore, try to hunt down these jewels that you need to enter into the final area of the game, as well as join guilds in order to gain new abilities. In this run of the game, I will be joining all of the guilds, all 3 levels of each one, and of course taking down the final boss, not joining them, in order to get the good ending in the game. Before you begin the game though, there actually is a nice little intro sequence before we jump into the town. After that nice intro and kind of recapping the events of the last game and showing where we are now and why Malkill is still a threat here in this town that we're going to need to save, you then get a character roll call before jumping into the game. But before we see that roll call, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the game to get things going. When we begin, we're going to run all the way over to the far left and collect a little bit of money before jumping up a few buildings to this first shop and buy 2 keys. Thankfully, we don't need to buy too many keys in the game, so there's a nice little strategy and path to take in order to get a little bit of money early on, buy a few keys, and then you won't have to worry about buying any more items throughout the entire rest of the experience. We're going to head to the bottom floor, entering into this building using one of the keys to grab the bronze thief statue. In order to take the test for the guilds, you need their statues. There's a bronze, silver, and gold for each one of the 3 guilds. Well, we're going to start off with the Bronze Thief Guild, as that's the first and easiest one to grab a hold of here. Then you're going to go into the Thieves Guild, located here, and talk to this guy, and he'll be like, hey, you brought our statue back, thank you for returning it, but you want to take the test, yes or no? And if you agree, you then jump into the test. The platforming in Wizards and Warriors 3 is thankfully better than Wizards and Warriors 1 and 2. While it's still that really kind of floaty jump that Kuros has, and attacking enemies still isn't the best, it controls a bit smoother, allowing you to move in the air a bit more freely and making jumps a bit overall easier. With these various guilds, you actually get to change kind of the costume of what your character looks like, and also gain some new abilities, such as the Thief being able to move quicker, and the Magician or Wizards being able to jump higher. Each level, though, also provides a different ability to help you out. Thankfully for the first boss, and don't worry, we're going to be fighting a lot of bosses throughout the game, we can just get up close to him, duck just a bit in front of him, and keep attacking. You want to do a duck attack pretty much all the time throughout this game, as ducking and attacking is a nice little lunge that allows you to reach a bit more distance than just trying to attack straight up, and this will actually allow you to hit the enemy. If you time it at that right spot, you can keep hitting him without him being able to hit you. Don't get too used to this though, because the later versions of the same kind of boss have more moves that can end up damaging you quite easily, and you have to kind of learn how to get around them. Climb back up here, gather just a little bit more coins so that you have 1,080. This will allow us to buy exactly 12 keys. Thank you to all the speedrunners out there that have worked vigorously on this game and have found some very, very fun ways to kind of get through things without having to do a ton of backtracking. Those amount of keys that we buy are the only ones that we'll need to, as by the time we need any more keys, we will have the 3rd level Thieves Guild, which allows us to have the kind of master key. Being the thief allows us to get past this guard and inside of this cave area, where we're going to travel a little bit over here and grab ourselves the next of the statues, the bronze wizard statue. Those weird flashing enemies can only be defeated by certain levels of the knight, so we actually have to be the 2nd level of the Knights Guild to take out that weird green flashing enemy in a bit. Before that though, let's get to level 1 of the guild, the Wizards Guild here. All of the guild's challenges look similar to one another, all 3 of the wizard ones, all the thieves ones, and so on. For this one, you have to work on jumping and your platforming skills, slowly making it up these very kind of small singular platforms. They get smaller and harder to jump between as you make it through more difficult ones, but it's pretty much the same exact setup. It's not any bigger, not any different each time, it's just a little bit more challenging. There is a boss when we reach the top here. If you land safely at the right spot, you can actually get right into a nice little combo again with him, and keep attacking the boss by lunging, and he'll never hit you. Thankfully, the mages, the wizard guys, are the easiest of all of the bosses. Even when they add new abilities, they're slow, and this still allows you to kind of get in close and keep hitting him a lot more than they're able to hit you. Usually the wizards are not too much of a threat to me as far as bosses go in the game. Plenty of other ones that give us trouble. For completing that wizard's challenge, we now have the 1st level wizard clothes, but we're not going to use that. Switch off right to the thief. We're going to usually use the thief because of the speed overall, as well as of course we need to get past this shortcut right here, this guy, every time in order to make it back into town. I recommend exploring the town as much as you can when you first start off playing the game, since it is a kind of more open experience and you get to explore this town a lot. Use it to your advantage to kind of get used to where certain things are. For this boss, and you have a couple of them you deal with in the game, you'll have to attack. Every time you do a duck attack, you can actually push him backwards. After doing it enough, it will spit out fire. When it does jump away from you and spit out the fire, just don't go near it. Wait for the fire to dissipate, and it'll come back towards you, and you can repeat that process of ducking and attacking, knocking it back slowly until it's defeated, then go through the door and grab yourself the silver one of the Thieves Guild statues. With the level 1 wizard ability, you can fire out spells. Holding down attack and then hitting a direction, you fire out. And naturally have to get used to that a bit for a couple of boss encounters, but we can also use it for here to knock over this item. You mean knock it away so that we can then jump up there using either the thief or the magician, whichever you prefer. Like I said, the thief runs quicker, and that allows you to kind of jump higher a lot of times, and leads us up into this area. Keep heading up inside of this room here. Head up to the couple of floors. You'll notice a few windows and the like. I do like the color scheme going on. Once you're out into another open area, there's another big door just to the left. Go right through there. And then once in this room, head to the right and up. Enter into this door, and you'll find the bronze of the knights statues. You're probably wondering where they were located, and here we go. This is the easiest one of those to locate inside of the palace type structure here. From that point on, go all the way over to the far left. You'll make some big jumps, you'll see a closed door, you'll have one of your keys so you can use that to open it up and take on the first of the Knights challenges. Here you're in a weird kind of like sewer area. There are spikes and the like trying to attack you. Just work your way along this top portion here. You just have to make it across a few gaps. It's not too challenging the first time around. Each time you'll add some new hazards to try to knock you back, but it's the same setup as far as the design, and when you reach the top you want to try to get in close and start attacking the boss. He may be able to knock you back, unlike the other ones we've dealt with at level 1, but that's only from that small swipe move downwards that he does. These bosses, as far as attack patterns go, are extremely simple. It's just a couple of frames of animation that they end up doing, and it's knowing when the openings are on the harder ones that you can get in and deliver a couple of hits so that you don't end up taking damage. Once we've defeated him, though, we have now all 3 level 1 of the guilds, and we're going to work on now getting the level 2 guilds. I love that you can jump on the heads of people. The townspeople aren't so friendly, some of the ones, and they'll actually attack you as well. Just overall trying to make this game feel like it was more living than any of the other Wizards and Warriors games, and in some ways ahead of its time. In fact, even the guild stuff reminds me a bit of the Elder Scrolls series and joining the various guilds in those games. Climb up here quite a bit, you'll see the color change up a bit. Go through this opening, you'll find yourself in this big red brick roomed area. We'll be here a couple of times, but to stop by the first time, we're going to go over here. We're going to deal with a boss that drops down. Just keep ducking and pushing it away, make sure it doesn't land on you. He may jump and attack you, but just keep repeating that process of doing the duck attacks and you'll easily knock it back. Here you'll find yourself the Silver Knight Guild statue. Once back out in the red room, we're going to continue as the thief character here and work our way over to the far right lower side here. If you drop down at the right spot, hopefully you'll be able to land on the platform here and go inside of this room. Just drop on down. You can safely land on a few platforms if you don't want to take some unnecessary damage. Then immediately drop down into this room right here and find the second of the Thieves Guilds. Like before, this one's going to be a bit more challenging than that last one. There's a few more of the hidden doors. Just be very careful that you don't go through the wrong hidden doors. Wait for the right ones to kind of light up. You'll know you can go through them when they do light up. If they're still just white color, you know you can't use them quite yet. Thankfully, they also always refill and give you a full health bar for each one of these challenges, so the bosses don't worry too much about conserving your health, just worry about making sure you have enough of it left so that you at least win the fight. At the end of each one of the segments is always the center segment. They have extra doors on the top and bottom that can instantly warp you to your doom, but just kind of ignore them. For the second thief guy, he actually will charge forward, including doing a couple of little thrusts. After the second of the thrust on the far left side, he will back up and give you an opportunity to straight up attack him. You can go for the more offensive approach like we have before, since you probably will be able to outgun him as far as your health versus his, but you can avoid some of the damage if you wait for those right moments when he does have that brief bit where they're just kind of waiting before the cycle repeats itself. After getting the second one of the Thieves Guild, we're going to head to the bottom section here and go back into that cave system that's located at the bottom. I always try to do my best to slide along the rooftop so that at least I'm not going to take damage when I do make it to that very bottom platform. Now that we have the Knight ability, we can take out this guy, just attack it a couple of times and then switch on over. We're going to use the Mage coming up because that's what we have to battle the next boss with, so the Mage is the best thing to use here. For this boss, what we're going to use is our fire ability. Just stand still holding down the attack button, and then you have to hit the directions. This includes diagonally, as you fire out at this weird snake monster that kind of keeps rotating around, firing out projectiles slowly. You can destroy its body as you're attacking the head of it as well. Just keep working on those attacks. The game will slow down a bit because there's just a lot going on with your projectiles combined with the projectiles of that enemy. It thankfully doesn't do a ton of damage to you, and usually it doesn't run into you on a lot of its cycles. It'll just kind of bypass you, so you can focus on attacking it and delivering those attacks. Once he is finally defeated though, go through that door and you'll find yourself another one of the statues. We now have the silver wizard statue as well as the silver thief one. Back into the main open area, we're going to take a little shortcut here. You can see kind of from the background there's little things that are openings that you can use as shortcuts. There's also a few other secret ones as well that you can use to your advantage to help you out. Up here, switch on over to the wizard and take the second of the wizard challenges. This one, once again, similar to that last one where you're jumping up the individual platforms. It's the same distance, and this time though the boss can attack you a bit more, with a bit more firepower behind it, but it's still a pretty easy fight. The hardest part is just getting to the top with the slightly smaller platforms that you now have to deal with. There is a random enemy that will come down, just trying to knock you downwards, but usually doesn't get in the way too hard. Very top is the toughest jumps you'll have to do before finally reaching that top and being able to battle with the wizard, poking at you as well as firing out fire. When it shoots out the fire though, you have enough time to get right in there and deliver a lot of quick hits, draining the health rather fast. Considering you shouldn't have too much health drained from your own health bars, you start off with a full one going into this area. Thankfully this one isn't going to be too challenging of a fight for you. Now, the second ability that we get with the wizard allows us to kind of go invincible, and we can walk through this waterfall near the top of the village area that allows us to get into another place. So that's really kind of the benefit of getting that. Here we're going to take a shortcut again. Right up in here is actually a very well hidden one that you can find a few bits of money if you do need it, but it also shortcuts you right near the town. So even if you've been traveling a bit throughout the area, you can shortcut easier back to the town by going through that way. I also love with the villagers, you can knock them off of buildings too. Just running into them, pushing them, and nope, goodbye guy, just fall off this building. As soon as you enter into here, you have another boss fight. This is against another one of these guys. They'll start off by firing out fireballs and jumping towards you. Just stay away and then slowly walk towards them and do your attack. If you're using the Thief level 2, you have this cane attack that you're able to do and actually be able to do damage to them without having to do that duck attack. So you just have to walk and do short attacks. It doesn't even look like you're going to be able to hit him, but you can actually hit him from that little bit of distance. And once he's taken care of, head on through and find yourself the gold Thief Guild statue, the very, very useful gold Thief Guild statue that will allow us to get the Master Key or Skull Key. Head on back up here. This is where we knocked that thing off with the wizard earlier. Then you want to keep on climbing up to the very, very top. Eventually you'll see these little individual platforms. So when you reach the top, you'll come to this flashing waterfall. Switch over to the wizard's second ability, use it, and then you'll be able to walk on through that waterfall. Sometimes the enemies will be right there to punch you and knock you on your butt. You're invincible from the waterfall, it doesn't hurt you, but that guy's just waiting for you to knock you right there. Then once you're past the waterfall, you can switch on off. I'm going to go ahead and use the thief just to have that extra bit of speed as I'm jumping through the next little areas. Once right out here, you can jump on up using your knight and enter into the second of the Knights Guild challenges. For the Knights Guild, it's once again that kind of hollow hallway with the sewer-like theme going on here. Just spikes kind of popping up and the like. It's the same deal as before, just now more stuff coming at you. The boss can be a bit of a challenge though, trying to actually get in hits while avoiding damage on your own. I always found this part at the very end also a bit challenging. You gotta wait for the knives to kind of pop out of the sides, and you can use them for platforms to get over that final gap. For this boss, you can run in close. After he does a big attack pattern, he will eventually stop for just a moment of swinging his sword, and this will allow you to get in and deliver a few hits. If you're impatient, you can run in and try to hit him between these segments, and you still can do some damage. In fact, you can be impatient for the most part on this guy and still end up winning more often than not. But he doesn't give you very long as far as that open window goes to deliver those hits and defeat him and grab the next of the statues. So we now have completed the silver level Knight Guild. Now the axe ability, you can actually throw the axe out, and we can do that to actually take out the guy who's waiting for us on a platform, preventing us from being able to get on there. So you want to climb up here and then throw it out, and you'll take out the flashing enemy over here, and this will allow you to go inside this door. And lo and behold, it's the third of the Thief Guild challenges. Once again, you just gotta be very careful. Don't go through the doors if you don't necessarily have to. Eventually, when a door goes off screen, it'll just destroy the other one. So if you can't use the one, just wait a moment. It'll go away, and that way you can bypass that one so you don't end up at the very beginning getting crushed. The rest of the path, though, is pretty easy. Just wait for kind of the arrows as well as the flying swords, flying knives to kind of go past as well. A lot of times you can just either let them go past before you jump to an area, or let them go above you. Once again, at the end though, take the middle path, and for this boss it's going to be a bit more challenging. We're going to have to actually wait it out a bit sometimes in order to actually deal out that damage. The opening will come when he'll run forward and do a couple of stab animations. After that second one, he retracts, moonwalking backwards, and this will allow you to get in and deliver a couple of hits. It's going to be a little bit of a lengthier fight because of this, but at least if you're able to do that, you're going to end up taking far less damage. Just keep on repeating kind of the attack and quickly run away into the hidey hole strategy until eventually he is taken down. And we now have the third level guild, and thus also have a key that can open up all of the doors that we need open now for the rest of the game. Once outside of there, head all the way down to the very bottom level, once again bypassing this guard guy waiting for us, and heading inside of the cave structure. Go to the left just a little bit, pass through the pink walls, and down into the green area. I always like to pick up any extra food items along the way as I'm going down, just to replenish what I've lost. Stop by this room right here for a second battle against the snake bosses. Once again, you're going to want to use the wizard. Make sure that you select the level 1 wizard though, so that you have the correct ability, and you'll be able to fire out those fireballs. And you're going to do the same exact thing you did before. Firing out at him, waiting for him to come out, keep firing at the body, slowly destroying it. And a lot of times it's just patiently waiting for those moments to deliver attacks to it, while hoping it doesn't run into you. Now, for this fight, you actually have 2 of them that you're going to have to end up battling. So after the first one is defeated, the second one will end up showing up. Don't worry too much about the second version, it's pretty much more of the same, just more dodging, waiting for it to come towards you, and using those fireballs accordingly. Practice the fireball quite a bit, not only for these encounters, but also the final boss as well. Using the final sword, you can fire out a fireball at the boss, and that's what you'll need to do a lot of times during the last boss encounter in order to do damage. So, kind of get used to firing out projectiles in this game, as it is a tad bit awkward. Unfortunately, it takes me sometimes a long time to finally best these bosses, but once you finally do take them down, run on inside and grab the third and final of the wizard statue, this one the gold one. And now we have the gold wizard challenge to take on. As soon as we exit out, we're going to change back over to that thief. Once again, that's just for speed here. Go over to the far left side, you can go through the little shortcut. Then, once outside, back into this room, go to the far left again and take the other shortcut on the left side. Head over to the far left corner and head inside this room. Now, this is the third wizard challenge. We use the key to get inside here, but we need to be the wizard, of course, in order to actually enter. If we go in and it's anything else, it'll just be like, hey, you gotta leave, can't see anything here, leave. Change costumes, oh, it's good now, you can take on the challenge. Just like Elder Scrolls, right? Just changing outfits and changing a few things. Sometimes you can magically change what people think of you. Either way, we're going to go to the third challenge here that's very, very small platforms. As you can see, these ones are just like one exact pixel for us to really kind of be on. You can step maybe one small step. Thankfully, though, it's not too bad. The jumping in Wizards and Warriors 3 is so much better than the jumping in Wizards and Warriors 1 and even Iron Sword, so it's not as bad as it looks, especially if you've never played this one and you've played the other games in the series. At the top, we're going to battle the boss just the way we've been doing before. The projectiles give you plenty of opportunity to keep running in and delivering attacks to him. He'll keep knocking you back and will do damage, but you should have plenty of chances to get in and keep hitting him before he'll end up draining all of your health. Thankfully, this is the last of the wizard battles here, and now we have only one more of the guilds to complete, the third level Knight Guild, and then we can start heading towards the end of the game. Once back on out here, jump on up a little bit, over to the right side, and take that shortcut that you took to kind of get into this area. All you're doing is running back to the town. As you may remember this path, we can go in here, jump up, and do a little shortcut. And this takes us right back to this room and the room with the guard. So, using that shortcut again, we can get back to the town a little easier. Now, with the key in hand, we're going to start heading up quite a bit. Just keep working your way up the buildings. A little bit up the left side, right side, whichever way you find easiest to kind of make your way up. When you reach this building, once again, go inside of this window and talk to the first of the three princesses. If you agree to the princess to marry her, she'll give you one of the crown jewels. You need the crown jewels, so agree to marry her. Don't worry, this won't come back up later, as you have to actually agree to marry all three of these girls that you end up running into, and you'll get the jewels for doing so, but, yeah, you don't have to worry about the marriage part coming back into play, as we'll see with the ending. After saving that first jewel there, we're going to head inside of here and go through the shortcut. Then right through the door that we took to get into that shortcut, because it pops us back out in this part here. Now we're going to use a little bit of a trick here. Using the magician, you can actually float up and go through this opening right here. This will allow us to go through this wall and right into this door. Now, once inside of this room, we'll have to battle another boss, so we're going to switch on over to our knight. I accidentally switched to the second version, but I want the first one. And battle this guy again. It's the same boss, basically, that we dealt with before, attacking from behind, slowly getting him to move, and you can kind of do that duck, walk attack, and keep knocking him back. Eventually, he may actually get a little bit of dialogue in, but just keep repeating that process of ducking and attacking, and you'll easily defeat him. Once he's defeated, you'll have the gold statue as well, so we can complete that third guild challenge for the knights. Once back out of here, we're going to go into the left window. As you can see, this is where it pops us out, so you can see where you normally would go through in order to get there, but it's just a shortcut you can take to kind of get through there easier. Now we want to start flying upwards. Be careful flying up because enemies can knock you out of this, but with the floating ability, you can fly up quite nicely and easily. In fact, when we get on the left side here, you're going to want to fly up quite a bit. Make sure that you are far enough over to the left, and I mean all the way over to the far left, so that none of the enemies, including the eagle enemies, will spawn, so they won't hit you out of the air. Just fly up here quite a bit till you reach the top. Once you do reach the top, head on over, use the key to open up the door, and switch on over to the knight so that you can actually complete the third night challenge. Just like before, we have to be very careful. There's the spikes coming out, as well as the other rocks trying to knock us out of the air. I just try to jump through quickly. This is the hardest part, jumping up, try to get on the little platform that the little knife-like edge makes, and then get over to the right. Now, for this boss, he does give you a kind of pattern of when he opens up. He'll run over to the far right and attack, and then once he does that, he'll backtrack slowly, just sliding backwards, and not attack for a few moments. This will give you your ample opportunity to get in there, to deliver a hit or two, and then quickly get away before he ends up starting to attack you again. It'll take a little bit this way, but it'll help you as far as taking any unnecessary damage. And as long as you survive, that's all that matters, and we will have completed all of the guilds in Wizards and Warriors 3. Now that we have all the guilds complete, we have to collect the rest of the jewels. The first of which is located over to the right here. Just jump along the tops here, get out the thief, so that you can just kind of open up the door here. There is a little bit of health located around, so if I see any, I do make sure I pick it up. Enter inside this room, promise to marry the princess, and grab the second of the crown jewels. Now when you leave here, drop all the way down and head back into the village. It's a pretty long fall. Thankfully, if you don't land on any platforms, you'll be perfectly safe. And then you get to fall through the town, as well as we need to head on all the way down into the cave structure below. Once inside here, head to the left, go through the pink wall area into the green area. Go to the right just a little bit, and you'll come to a turquoise area. Don't go down there, instead go above that to the right. Climb up a little bit, you'll find some food items along the way, but your goal is to float up into the upper right corner here. Switch over to Magician level 3, or Wizard level 3, and float on up. This will allow you to reach this door right here. Now, this is the location of the third and final princess. Once again, say you'll marry her, and she'll give you the third jewel. We now have only one left to get, the dragon gem. And to get that, well, we have to defeat a dragon. One of the most annoying aspects of this game is potentially this dragon fight, but with enough perseverance, you can get through it. After saving or talking to that third princess, getting the crown jewel, however you want to look about it, we're going to head on down here and go through this opening right here. This will take us into this room. You want to climb up just a bit and then float on up using the wizard ability, and you'll see 2 platforms in the air floating above. Landing on them will initiate the dragon battle. For this fight, we're going to use the 3rd level Knight ability, and mostly stay still on the platform and just keep on attacking, wait for those openings. You can avoid fire from the dragon itself if you want to, or try to avoid it. You can see that you can fire out projectiles as well with that ability with your sword now, so that really does help you as far as trying to deal some attacks. If the boss flies in close and you're trying to attack the heads, make sure you start swinging, as you should be able to do a fair amount of damage that way. If you fall off of the one platform, you may land on the one just below it safely. If you land on it for just a second, you'll be able to then jump again. So quickly, if you start falling, press the jump button quickly, and hopefully you'll be able to survive that fall and jump right back up onto the platform. If you do fall off, though, the battle does not reset. Just fly your way back on up and continue it until eventually you take down this boss. It's more of a long, lengthy marathon-like fight than necessarily a challenging one. So a lot of times you'll be able to negate its attacks, and it's more of just the waiting game than anything else. Sometimes it'll take forever, but once the boss is finally defeated, you will be rewarded with the 4th and final of the gems. And lucky enough, this is the room where we need to use the gems, so it's always nice to wait for that dragon gem till after this point and grab it. Since we have all the lost crown jewels now, let's go ahead and put them into the right places down here. All you gotta do is drop on down here and press the button, and you'll be able to one by one put the gems in. Unfortunately, you do have to do it one by one. Either way, once they're all in, you'll be able to enter into the final area of the game. I'm going to start off by changing over to the thief, as we're going to do a little bit of climbing to make our way up to the top part. You may need to switch over at some points to the wizard so you can do some floating as well. Eventually we'll reach the top portion here. You can keep using the thief or switch over to the mage just because of the higher jump. At the top portion of this area here, you will need to switch over to kind of either jump higher or float. Either way, just slowly keep making your way north. Once we reach the top area here, go through this room here, and now you're going to start heading up here. All you're going to do is float up the left side. You can jump up if you want, you can float if you want, whichever way you prefer. Just make your way up the left side of this big room. Once you reach the top and go through, you're in another room, and guess what? We're going to be doing the same exact thing we just did in the previous room in this room. Jump or float your way up, whichever one you prefer. Floating is going to take longer, but it's easier just to hold down the one button and slowly make your way through everything. When we make it into the next room, still using the mage, jump up the far right wall. You'll have several platforms to jump up, but it's just a very easy straight up path jumping up these walls. When we reach the top, we'll have to move just a bit and enter inside the last of these corridors that we'll have to do. It's just a big kind of spiral staircase tower. Slowly fly your way upwards, or you can jump up a little bit of the stairs, but either way, just mostly float your way up to the very top. Once you do reach the top, switch on over to Knight level 3 and get ready for the final boss encounters. First, we start off by saving the king before going into the next room where we'll talk to the boss. He'll ask you whether or not you want to join him or not. Make sure that you don't join him in order to get the fight going. If you say yes to join him, he just ensleeves you and the game ends there without having to do the final boss. So to get the good ending here, we're going to do this boss against Malkill. This is not a fun boss. I absolutely hate this final boss. The thing is, you don't want to jump a lot. Mostly stay on the ground and just keep firing using your projectiles in order to hit the boss. It can be tricky to get it to fire out all the time. You gotta be kind of persistent about it. But thankfully, while attacking and staying on the ground, you do destroy a decent portion of the projectiles he also fires out. Staying on one side or the other can also kind of help you out, but either way, it just is a challenge to stay on your feet dodging his abilities while being able to keep attacking him. After he goes for a while, he will change up his pattern, starting to dive a little bit lower, and this is where the fight becomes a bit easier, I find it, as you'll be able to attack him a lot. Just make sure that once again, you don't jump around the battlefield. Just stay on the ground. It's your best opportunity. Jumping, you're just going to end up not being able to attack and lead yourself to being more vulnerable. When he swipes in for those final attacks here at the end here, just keep on mashing that attack button to finish him off. You can sit back and enjoy the ending to Wizards and Warriors 3 on the NES. So, yep, there you have it. The very odd ending. By defeating Malkill, you get sucked up into kind of a time warp, it looks like. But then the ending basically says that no matter what happens, you'll always be there to stop the evil forces. And then you get to put in your initials. It's an interesting game, just a lot different than the previous Wizards and Warriors games, and one that I appreciate more now as an adult, as when I first tried it out years ago, I just didn't really know exactly what you were supposed to do or where to even begin to go about it. With that, guys, it's going to wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.